not even just the medical aspect, but there's a whole culture around it. So if you're an able-bodied person and you're not willing to kind of embrace that culture and live that life with me, that can make relationships hard, and it can make monogamy hard.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult the medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 157. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a beautiful interview with Jade, who is a performer, comedian, and artist.
Yeah, we were put in touch with Jade by Jeff, who you don't know yet, but we have an interview with Jeff coming out in January. And Jeff is the director and creator of a animated documentary called Romantic Chorus. And so a couple weeks ago, we interviewed Imani, and she was in the movie as well, and as is Jade. So we're excited to get this story out there. It is amazing.
Very powerful.
Powerful and a sharp sense of humor.
Yes.
So you'll hear us laughing a lot along with Jade, and we're really touched and excited to bring you this conversation.
Before we jump into the interview, we do have a couple of announcements. Actually, we are going to save our usual community announcements for the end of the show.
We're sparing you this week.
Yeah. So
stick around to the end because there's some good stuff happening.
Yes. But first off, we are doing some special bonus episodes later this month, and we wanted to encourage all of you to leave us some voicemails for those episodes. The first is around the Christmas time. We're going to be releasing an episode about bloopers, and these are encouraged to be non-monogamy specific, but they do not have to be sexual.
Yeah, and really, whatever floats your boat. The goal here is to lighten the mood and bring some joy to people. So if you head over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and click on the Contact Us tab, there is a way to send us a voicemail, and we would love it if you would do so.
Right. And so sending us bloopers is the first part, but then the second one we're asking for is the best part of 2020 for you. So we'd like to publish an episode around New Year's that really highlights some of the best things that have happened in 2020 because we know it's been a tough year. Or, if you want to, describe how you're going to crush 2021.
Yeah. And you can send us 2 voicemails. Honestly, you can send us 4 voicemails if you want. Try to keep each story under 5 minutes because you will be cut off. But yeah, so thank you in advance for doing that and for helping us put together a little bit of fun and joy at the end of the year here.
Yeah. A few other quick shout outs that we wanted to put at the beginning of the show here. The first is a few weeks ago in episode 154, we interviewed Mariana and Rob. And Mariana is working on publishing a book for children called A Color Named Love, and it's about polyamorous family. So they've been launching a Kickstarter to publish this book, and it's been going amazing. But there's a week left, and we wanted to promote it so that if you haven't donated yet, please go support that work.
Yeah, and it's not even really just donating. You get copies of the book.
Yes.
You get all sorts of really cool stuff by doing this. And just a heads up, they have crushed the Kickstarter. They're at $18,000 and they only needed 13. So really everything you're doing now is helping to make sure this reaches as many people as possible. So it's amazing and we're super excited. So thank you. And again, thank you to anybody who listened to our show and supported this project. So we're honored to help promote it.
And you can do so by following the links in your show notes in the podcast player or in our show notes on our website.
The other one is a few weeks even prior to that, episode 140, we had Jane and Jay come on, and Jane is not to be confused with Jade. We've got Jade, Jane, and Jay. Sorry about that. That's our bad. We should have done this on a different week. Anyway, Jane is the author and creator of the Swing Fashions comic series. And they actually took this and made it into a comic book, and it is available on Amazon. And so we told them we would definitely shout it out because, it's amazing. They sent us a couple copies to giveaway to our Patreon group and one for us. And so we're really excited. It's super fun, and we've been enjoying reading it. So head over to the show notes, and there will be links in there to go ahead and pick up a copy for yourself. And you can throw it right on your coffee table for Christmas. People will love it.
Why not?
Yeah. There's no nudity on the cover. It'll be fine.
Just some pineapples.
Precariously placed pineapples.
Yes.
That's new band name.
For your next band.
For my next band.
That's all we have for the intro. Again, stay
tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the interview, maybe.
Listen to the interview. Then after the interview, come back and we'll be announcing and talking about our upcoming meet and greets and Patreon activities.
Yeah, and one more time, in case you don't know where to find us, there's links in your show notes player, or head over to normalizing non-monogamy.com, and you can find the show notes under the podcast tab for all of our guests, including today's, generally with photos and a little bit more about who they are and links to anything that they're involved in.
Yes. Now,
including A Color Named Love and Swing Fashions comic books.
Yes.
Okay.
All of that. All of the above. So now let's go talk to Jade.
Welcome to the show, Jade. We're super excited to have you here. We were put in touch through a mutual contact, Jeff.
His episode hasn't come out yet, but it will.
It will. It'll be coming out in January. And you were in his movie, A Romantic Chorus. And so we'll definitely talk about that. But we wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself for the listeners.
Cool. Hi. My name is Jade Terrio. I'm a comedian, film actor, do some music here and there. I've been very involved in the art world for ever since the beginning of college, really. I'm 26 now, out of college for a while, but I don't know. I've lived in the Bay Area my whole life. I like art that subverts expectations. I like original things. I don't know who doesn't. Yeah, I live with my roommate, and we got a cat. Pretty cool cat.
That's a
Love
good
that
thing.
cat. Yeah, so yeah, just living the millennial life in the middle of the Bay Area.
In the middle of a freaking pandemic, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I gotta throw that in there, right?
I just wondered if you were having the same pandemic as we were. 'Cause I thought maybe you'd found a way out of it.
I think so. What's it called? The Kobo? Or something?
Yeah, something like Kofefe, I think.
Kofifi, yeah. There we go. Kofifi, yeah. Knew it. Damn Kofifi.
Well, thank you for being here. We're super excited. And so just kind of like to preempt this for the listeners, we don't know a whole lot about you, and you don't know a whole lot about us. So we're kind of winging it here together. So we're super
just having a conversation.
We're super excited, and we just it's just awesome to be put in touch with awesome people. So thank you for going out on a limb and chatting with us tonight.
Hell yeah. Are you two a couple, or how does this work?
They tell us we are.
We are, yes. We're in our early 30s, but we've been together since 2005. So we've been together about 15 years.
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah. That's us in a very small
I was like, I don't know
Totally.
where do I go with that?
So
we are only each other. No,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can't survive
Oh.
independently.
yeah.
That's a joke, by the way.
It is. So the podcast focuses, as you know, around non-monogamy, but in our brief conversations, it was sort of discussed that you don't necessarily identify as non-monogamous, but you also don't really identify as monogamous. So maybe would you be open to sharing a little bit about some background and who is Jade and what has relationship looked like for you?
Sure. I mean, I've never really been in a serious relationship, so I've never, done the whole, like, oh, it's my boyfriend, and we're gonna go, say, oh, we've been together for 1 week, let's have an anniversary, I haven't really, I've had pseudo relationships where it's like, you don't put a label on it, but you're talking to the same person every day and hanging out with the same person every day and barely fucking, but almost, it's like, it's kind of a, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is a
You can
Yeah,
swear.
you can say fuck.
You can swear.
Okay. No, I mean, yes, I mean, intimacy is definitely a challenge for me. I mean, this is the pink elephant in the room that is, I guess I do have to bring up because it's related to sex and relationships. I am a disabled person, so I have a physical disability that's also very visible. And it does limit the things I do in bed, but it also makes for a very interesting experience. So I feel like there's been a lot of, I mean, when you're visibly disabled, it's difficult when you don't kind of look like the conventional person and you don't move like a conventional person. So when you don't look or move like a conventional person, people don't know what to do with that.
Right.
So I found that when I do get into relationships with people, it's one of those things or pseudo relationships or whatever you want to call it. It's one of those things where the other person has to be willing to become disabled as well, in a way. And I don't mean that in a negative way, like, oh, you gotta be in a wheelchair like me or anything crazy like that. But I have a disabled life. My life is very around, not even just disabled, not even just the medical aspect, but there's a whole culture around it. So if you're an able-bodied person and you're not willing to kind of embrace that culture and live that life with me, that can make relationships hard, and it can make monogamy hard. Because I feel like with monogamy, there's kind of this idea of commitment. Like I'm committing myself to one person, and I'm living the life of this one person. So I believe because of those difficulties, I found that I haven't found myself in that many monogamous relationships. I mean, I have slept around. I have, been with people in an intimate way, but it's never been exclusive. And I've also been with people who were polyamorous. And I'm not like serious. I would never put a label on it between myself and that person. But, I was okay with them sleeping with other people because in my mind, in my heart, it wasn't a serious thing for me. So it was just about the sex or about the friendship or whatever, whatever was going on at the moment. So I guess that's why I would say I'm not strictly monogamous. I mean, I guess I would like to be monogamous because there is kind of a fantasy of like, oh, you find your prince or your princess charming. I mean, I kind of go both ways, but you find that person that makes you feel great, solves all your problems, and you're with forever. And then that fantasy that you're going to grow old, you want to bring them home to mom and dad, you'd be like, look at this trophy I scored. I hate to put it so shallowly, but there is kind of this almost Western fantasy of doing that. But that's why it's a fantasy. It's not really realistic, especially in this day and age when you live in the city and everyone's kind of sleeping around. In the art world, I don't think it's very realistic, especially people who are entertainers and artists. A lot of them are so free-spirited and open that it's hard to get one to settle down or feel like you even want to settle down yourself because you're constantly moving and meeting new people. So I don't know. I guess I would like to be monogamous, but I don't. It's not something I strictly strive for.
Yeah.
When I'm in a relationship. Yeah.
Growing up, was non-monogamy ever modeled for you, or like how did you come to learn more about non-monogamous relationships? And maybe can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I learned about non-monogamy in college. I mean, I always knew about swingers. That was what my parents called them, swingers. People kind of just sleep around and stuff. But I remember when I was in college, one of my roommates was reading The Ethical Slut. And you all nod your heads like it's our Bible. No, But yeah, and I was just like, ethical slut. Like, what is that? Like, those are two opposing words, you know. How does one be ethical and a slut? But when she was reading it and she was doing the poly thing, and I never totally understood how people would do the poly, because I know when my heart gets broken over one person, that just wrecks me. You know, I'm a mess. It's like I'm out of sickness for years sometimes, and I can't imagine going through that with more than one person at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes total sense, right? And I think that, I mean, you've talked about so many things that I guess I want to circle back to, but
so many questions
that came up, but the
circle away.
Yeah, no kidding. So I guess the one was sort of around you said you kind of go both ways. You're looking for maybe a prince or a princess. Mm-hmm. And I guess the question with that would be, oftentimes you like people who are bisexual or maybe pansexual or maybe not heterosexual, their non-monogamy can be an outlet for exploring, both or multiple sides of their sexuality. And so I guess, you talked, you said, well, I would be interested in going and finding that person and becoming monogamous. Do you think that if you found somebody, you would have trouble turning off that other part of you who was maybe interested in a gender different than the one you're with?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I guess I'll preface by saying, I mean, I do lean more toward men, like cis men, which is not to say that I've never dated trans men or women or non-binary people. I definitely have. And when I say dated, I don't mean like in a relationship where we have label on, but dating, going out and going together a little bit. But yeah, I guess when I think of what it would be like if I was in a serious a serious monogamous relationship, I picture it maybe not lasting for the rest of my life. I hate to be a pessimist about it, but it's more of a temporal thing. Like maybe I'll be together with a person for 5 years or something, and then if it lasts forever, that's great. But it's likely not going to. I don't know. Maybe I'm just I don't know if I have bad habits, but I feel like if it did end, I would still have the opportunity to go seek out someone else of a different gender or sex. And then if we were in a relationship for a really long time and it's something we wanted to talk about trying and doing, I mean, so many couples have done that. I don't see. It's hard for me to kind of put a hypothetical on something.
Sure.
Because, sure, if I wanted to explore, I'm sure my partner maybe might be open to it. Who knows? I don't know who that person would be,
Yeah. No, yeah. Makes sense, I think. And thank you for sharing.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to do the hypothetical, but it's also interesting to think about.
Well, but it also sounds like you'd be open for a potential non-monogamous dynamic, whether it was swinging or polyamory, if you found somebody who might also
I've been in non-monogamous dynamics. And it's like, that's the thing about serious versus not serious. I mean, like, I've made out with my friends. I've had sexual relationships with my friends knowing that they're fucking other people, and I mean, or making love or whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
Some have definitely been more serious. So I for example, I have one friend who is very seriously polyamorous. We've never done anything, but we've had sexual tension, and he's very serious about polyamory. So he has partners. He has partners that he said, "This is my partner. My partner knows about my other partner," and then and me and him are friends, but there's still the sexual tension between us, and I don't know if they know about it, but I don't even know if it matters, because everyone knows he's a like, it's kind of just like one of those things. And then I've had other friends that I've like, slept with or had intimacy with, where another friend of mine, he never identified as poly, but he slept around a lot. He liked to sleep with people, and I don't know why I find myself with sex addicts all the time, but I mean, I don't think I'm a sex addict. I mean, I definitely have my moments, but I think that's why I don't think if I was with someone monogamously, I don't know that I would get bored sexually necessarily. I would actually probably worry about it being the other way around, because I'm not very hypersexual. So, I don't think I'm undersexual, but I think, it doesn't, I'm not looking for anything crazy. And if I was with someone who did want to explore more, then maybe I would expect them to have the anxiety more than I would, I guess.
Right. So you would see yourself like being fairly satisfied, and your concern would be more that they were needing more than you were potentially able to
provide. Or wanting.
Yeah.
I would think so, just knowing my sex drive and kind of how I've been in the past.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to circle back, because I'm still circling.
We can circle.
I'm still circling.
Yeah.
It's my favorite shape.
Is around the communication. So one of the things when we talk to people in non-monogamous relationships, poly, swingers, whatever, is really, and one of the things that we drive home a lot is like communication is so critical, right? Talking about what you're into, what you're not into. And one of the things that you touched on really early on is that because of your disability and that it's a physical disability, that things are more interesting, right? You have to communicate a lot better about like,
sure,
maybe they've never been with somebody who is disabled. So now you get to communicate like, how do we have sex? What does that look like? How does all of this work? Because it's a little bit of a different dynamic.
Yeah. I can comment on that. It's kind of funny that you say that, because I just had a conversation with my friend a couple weeks ago. He was probably the closest I've ever had to a boyfriend. Like, if I were to go through my whole timeline, we were dating for like 6 months, and then we got together, we hooked up, and it wasn't great. It was kind of it was just nerve-wracking. We were both extremely nervous, and we didn't really know what to do with each other. And I think we were both just like thinking about what our own approach was going to be, And the one thing we both agreed that we didn't do was talk to each other about it. We never actually like sat down and were like, okay, what do you like? What are we gonna, what is this gonna look like for us? And that's the big lesson. It's like the challenge, I think, is trying to make communication sexy.
Yeah.
Because when you think about communication, you don't want to be like, what do you like? Oh, I like when my nipples are touched, and then you're just dwelling on that word nipple and how ridiculous it sounds, And it's just kind of like, it's hard. It's hard to talk about this. And with the disability thing, one of the kind of main themes I've noticed with people who have wanted to maybe get with me in that way, like a sexual way, is they're afraid that I'm going to break. Because I look very small and very petite. I can't really move that well. People are afraid that they're going to break me. Like, if it's just like, and the reality is, you're not going to break me, and I can actually have pretty normal vanilla sex, like pretty straightforward, and I enjoy it. A lot of people think I can't feel below my waist. That's completely, entirely untrue. It's just they connect, wheelchair equals numb legs. It's like, that's not really how that always works. So, there's a lot of assumptions in my stand-up comedy act. I got back when I used to do comedy a long time ago, back in the day before the world was sad and broken. I have a joke that guys don't want to fuck me because they think I can't feel my legs, and I say, no, you misheard me. I'm numb on the inside. There's a big difference. Thanks for laughing at that. That was
Yeah, no.
if you did not laugh at that. But yeah. I mean, I just think communication. It's important to kind of, it's good that even if you're not disabled, like talk about it. That way you don't have a bad time. Why waste your time?
Yeah. Well, and you bring up such a good point about the fact that sometimes talking about it can be awkward and weird, and like you get focused on certain words. And that is something that I know so many people struggle with, right? You're not alone. We've definitely struggled with that in the past. Like it's hard sometimes to let your brain, you can think those things, but actually to spit them out in words is really difficult.
Yeah, and I feel like pornography has ruined a lot of that, because then it's like, even in porn, like, they're not realistic in porn. They're in porn. They're doing porn voice. And then, but even when they're talking, or just like sex work, it's like they do use a lot of the language that you need to use if you're trying to, like, there's only so many words for pussy, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there comes a point where you do have to kind of use that language to get to communicate what you want. But at the same time, I feel like porn makes it so dirty, and not in a good way. Like, not like in a shameful, like, degrading, commercialized, uncomfortable way. So the language is kind of ruined for you, in this weird way. Yeah, and I've been having some great phone sex lately. I have an international friend, and it's fun because we only get to use our words, like, only, because we're on the phone. And we don't do visual or anything, it's all audio. And surprisingly, I've found that there's a lot of ways that you can talk dirty without sounding like you're in a porno. Like, you don't actually have to use all the words that you're supposed to use. You could say, even, I remember, just all kinds of things. Like, I remember this one guy when I was really young. The dirty talk was, we were doing it, and I was so mad at him for being 3 hours late that I made him describe all the reasons why he was late while we were fucking.
I love that.
There was one, another guy, another guy just told him to stop thinking so much. Like, stop thinking. You're still thinking about something. Stop it. And the more you say that, you kind of can work yourself up into an orgasm if you're not careful, So stuff like that, Obviously, you don't have to use all the dirty words to talk about this stuff, but you
right.
Can,
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point too. And I love the idea of phone sex too, because you're forced to only use your voice. Like, it's really good practice for in person.
And it's great for covfefe.
Yeah, right.
The other thing I wanted to maybe throw out there was back to the communication and to the dirty words. One of the conversations I've actually recently had with somebody was, what words do you prefer? And you could say, oh, well, that's, it's not sexy to have that conversation, right? Like, we should be able to be spontaneous. But for me, my thought was, well, I don't want to be using words that every time I say them, you like get more and more turned off. So we basically had the conversation of like, what do you prefer used for these body parts and these actions? Do you like boobs or tits? Which do you prefer? Or is there some other word you prefer?
Boobs.
And so we just kind of had that conversation, and now we both know what the other person prefers, and you're not going to accidentally say something that turns them off or offends them in the middle of sex.
I just remember this one time where I was like, do you want me to suck your nipple? And it just sounded so like so dumb when it came out of my mouth. It's just like, I mean, yeah, words are. That's a good point. Like, I do think certain words can be a turn off, and it would be awkward for the person who's turned off to be like, "Don't say it," because you don't want to police someone's way of speaking. But when you're in the bedroom, sometimes, I mean, I know I've been trying different words out. Like, I decided after using the word daddy like 3 or 4 times, I don't like that word. Like, I tried it, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of gross, and I just don't like it, so I don't use it anymore. But as far as like other people, yeah, everything talking about, I mean, I do think it's easier. Here's what I think the disconnect is. It's easier to get into the nitty-gritty of talking about that when you've been with someone for a minute,
Yeah.
as opposed to a hookup. And I don't even think that's how it should be. I mean, I think it's stigmatized. It would be great if in the beginning of every hookup, we were able to have that conversation with someone, because I think it would make hookups like way better, Yeah. Then you could go, oh, wow, we actually like these certain things or whatever. But unfortunately, I just think that sex is always so weird that when people are hooking up spontaneously, they want to just get right to the point. I remember this one guy online. He said, it was so good. It was a total turn off to me. It was like the thing that I was just like, no. He said he wanted to fuck my guts, and I thought, I was just like, guts, like, it was just like that word was so disgusting. I thought I was in like a haunted house or something. Like, and blindfold me and put my hand in Jello too. Like, what the hell's going on here? So I mean, yeah. And it was just his word choice. So I was just like, ooh, I don't like that image. I don't like any of that. So, that was the end of it for me.
But then, like, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because that might have worked for other people, and you don't know.
Yeah, you have to imagine it worked on somebody, and maybe he was trying out words just like you were, and he was like, "Well, guts didn't work, but hey."
Check that one off the list.
I'll try intestines next time.
Oh God. Yeah, your organs. I'm gonna fuck your organs.
That'll be the tagline for this episode.
Yeah, this
episode. That'd be awesome. You should do that.
I guess let me rephrase that. Generally, how do you meet people? Just through friends, or are you online dating? I'm just curious. People meet people in different ways, so.
I mean, I've met most of my people in person. I've gone through phases of online dating, and I have met some people online, like a few, but online is a lot of work for me, because I feel like I do have a disconnect, because on the one hand, I don't like being single necessarily. On the other hand, I don't have it in me to not be single. I don't know if that makes sense. So, like, I know that if I really don't want to be single, I can put in the work, I can go online, do the thing, meet the people, and it's like anything. If you want to lose weight, work on it. If you want to, it's just a project, but every time I start to do that, I get bored, and I don't feel like going through the hassle that you have to go through to make it happen. So online dating usually fizzles out for me after the first few disappointments. And I'm sure like with online dating, it starts with disappointment after disappointment, and then then you finally meet someone where you're like, oh, you're all right, but and I have gotten to that point with online dating in the past, not to where it was a relationship, but to where I've met people been like, oh yeah, you're a good layer, or you're a whatever it is. But yeah, I feel like, and then as far as real life, I do definitely meet more people in real life. The majority people I've been with have been IRL. But the problem with that is then you're fucking your friends. And unfortunately, in this day and age, it's kind of hard to do that for whatever reason. I don't know why. I mean, part of it's I work in entertainment, so a lot of my friends are my colleagues, which is definitely can cause problems. So, and then if if one person rejects the other, then you still have to see that person. So dating in real life can kind of be, a gamble a little bit, because if you're meeting someone in real life, chances are you're going to see them again, or you're going to have mutual friends. So yeah, there's that worry.
Yeah, but it was interesting. You talked earlier, you said one of the person that you would say you were together with for like 6 months and was probably the closest thing you've had to a boyfriend. It sounds like you've remained really close friends with that person. And I maybe wanted to touch on that and see if you had some thoughts on sort of sticking the breakup dismount, right? We were together, now we're not together. Now maybe we work together, we have mutual friends, how we might be roommates. Like, how have you figured to navigate that part of it?
Oh, God, triggered. No, I'm just kidding. Also, this is an aside. Never fuck your roommate. I did do that once before, too, and it does also cause problems when you have to live together after. But I mean, I was fine with it. For the record, I had no problem with it. But anyway, that's another story. No, I guess, I mean, it is hard. How can I say this? I don't know that it's a healthy thing to do to remain friends with your ex, because it is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, especially if you're not the one who initiated. In that moment, I wasn't the one who wanted to not be together, so it was definitely hard on me. The other thing is I enjoyed. I mean, we're both artists, so I really liked working with him creatively. That was the most fun I had when we worked together creatively. And there was a lot to him that I still cared about, and I loved him a lot. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's healthy. I mean, he lives far away now, so we don't actually hang out like in person like we used to, and that was kind of, I mean, so he's far away, so it's easier, but we still stay in touch. And I don't know. I mean, I know I have friends who have been friends with their exes for years, and they're on again, off again, and it's just kind of one of those things where relationships evolve in some areas and devolve in other areas. And part of the thing that I've been trying to do in my life is kind of compartmentalize my friendships in certain ways. So, like my relationships with people, in my head, I go, okay, this is platonic, or this is romantic, or this is sexual. And there's different levels of that with every relationship. And it's kind of just good to maybe monitor where those levels are going. Because if you just say, you're my crush, I want you to be mine, then you kind of have this very simplistic view of what the relationship actually is.
Right.
Or unrealistic view too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How have you seen over the last few years of dating, or since you started dating and started sleeping around and hooking up with people, how have you seen your approach change throughout that time?
Well, it's very interesting. When I was younger and in college, I very much, there was all these paranoias, because it was like, I didn't want to die a virgin. It was kind of this weird, like, I'm disabled, I don't know. And it's not, because I have so many disabled friends, who are in happy, loving relationships. So it's not like I didn't have good role models or examples, but when you're young, you kind of have this doom and gloom, and you don't think you're ever gonna meet someone. So, that was the initial goal, just like lose the virginity, like get that out of the way, don't go to the grave. So I lost my virginity, and it was awful, and it's just kind of like, because you don't know what you're doing, and you're just doing it to do it. You're not doing it to have fun or enjoy yourself or have pleasure, because it's it's awkward and painful, and it's just like it's like a trophy or a rite of passage. It's not really a enjoyable situation. So there's that. So after that happened, then my goals changed to this weird, like, oh, all my friends are hooking up, and I don't want to be the one celibate one. Again, like this status acquisition. So then you want to be like, look, I can sleep around too. Look, even though I'm, a cripple, I'm hot. I'm promiscuous. I do drugs. I like rock and roll. You kind of just, you want to put on this persona. And then when you're an entertainer, there's also that, you have fans coming up to you and flirting with you. And so it's kind of like, oh, I can acquire that too. It's just this weird Harvey Weinstein-esque attitude that, just kidding, I'm not that bad.
I was gonna say you don't strike me as the Harvey Weinstein.
No, I have don't worry, I've never coerced anyone into sex. It's all been a guilt trip. No. No. That's a bit. No, but I just, so there was that. So then after I kind of lived the fuck boy, fuck girl, whatever life for a second, which is not to say I was sleeping around all the time. It was just a lot of chasing and getting rejected and getting molested in bars, and just like a bunch of bullshit. And then after I kind of got, and then I was horny, and lonely, and then you want that intimacy, but then you realize that the sex isn't what you really want. It's the intimacy that you want. You want the companionship. You want the care. And so then I went through that period of realizing that it wasn't, the orgasms and everything that I craved. It was really just the intimacy. And then now that I'm more mature and grown, I've, in the past couple of years, I've definitely turned down hookups. I've been in situations where people want to hook up and I don't want it because I'm scared. I don't want to have a bad time. It's like hookups aren't great when you don't communicate and you don't have a good time. It's not worth it to just do it just to do it, And so I started kind of having more self-respect and choosing when I want to do it. And so now, I guess now I'm in a phase where I would like to have more sexual experience, and I feel like I'm getting there. And it's slow and steady, and I'm comfortable with the pacing. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're right. Like you said, your standards come up, right? As you learn what you do and don't like, and then you're like, you said this, like, I know I could turn it on. I could turn on the dating apps. I could go get it. But for what, right? For some bad sex, and I'm uncomfortable, and the communication is shitty, and the person might be shitty. So like, it's your standards raise, right?
Oh yeah, and it's just like when I don't know, your standards raise, and you realize it's not about having sex. You're wanting something more.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say, like, I do have this thing to prove, like, oh, look, I'm a cripple. I can get laid anytime I want. And it's true. I could get laid tonight if I want to get laid. I could go on fucking Tinder and find, like, so many people want to have sex right now. A lot of people want to have sex with me because it's a weird fetish thing, too. It's like, I'm going to knock that off my bucket list, and I don't really want to be fetishized. That's not what I'm going for either,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
man.
how do you combat that? How do you come up against that? I mean, that's something that, I mean, neither of us have ever had to deal with that, and I think that's a really important thing to talk about if you're willing to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's just awkward because it's like, I'm just thinking about what to say. I would be in a bar or something, and then I'd have like a friend. You know, I have a lot of friends in the comedy community and stuff, and when you're drinking, your inhibitions get lowered, and you flirt with people maybe you wouldn't normally flirt with, you know. And I've had friends of mine, you know, touch my face, kiss me, we'd make out in the bar, you know, and you could tell that they think I'm very sexy, you know, especially because I do my makeup. I totally show up looking fine, and they're into it, and they don't know why they're into it, and they're confused because yesterday they didn't see me as a sexy hot babe. They saw me as a vulnerable little crippled girl, and then I go up on stage and tell dick jokes and mime myself sucking a dick on stage, and all of a sudden they get a hard on, and they don't know why. You know, so it's like they're confused. So it's kind of like a weird fetish thing. And then I get flirted with, but nobody ever wants to go all the way because in their mind it's just a fantasy. It's just a weird fetish. And of course, I've had people be like, "Oh, I've never been with a girl in a wheelchair. I'd love to do that." You know, it's just like that's just a turn off because it's like, you know, that's just not what I'm looking for. I'm not really just looking for dick. You know, I mean, I respect people who are just looking for whatever they want to get their rocks off to, but that's not really what I'm looking for. So if someone wants to fetishize me, I don't know that I would really be into that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
How, I guess, in your everyday life, how open are you with friends and family about kind of your relationship dynamics? Like, as far as looking, you mentioned possibly looking for like that fantasy of the one, but then you're also in practice more sleeping around a little bit more. Do you have those conversations with friends and maybe family?
Yeah, she fucks all her friends.
That's true.
I'm just kidding.
No, I wish I fucked all my friends. No, don't tell them that. I mean, yeah, I don't really come from a super prudish family, so it's not like I hide anything. It is a little awkward because I do think my parents secretly want me to settle down. You know, like they want me to meet someone. I think they would be really happy. And you know, I am a very family oriented person, so I do have kind of this weird like what is it, like a noble, like stoic desire to bring someone home and be like, don't worry, mom and dad, my lover will take care of you too, you know. No, but I mean, I don't tell them like, oh yeah, I have a guy over there. You know, I don't say all that, but you know, I mean, I have dated. I remember there's this. Oh, this is so funny. This is a really funny story. I was seeing a guy, the one I was talking about earlier, and I told my mom about it. It wasn't like a serious relationship. I wasn't like, yeah, he's my boyfriend, we're together. But I was excited, and I was like, I met someone I really like, and I think he likes me, and you know, I'm really excited, you know. And my mom gives me a bunch of money to give to this guy. I don't know even tell you the amount, but she's like, here, help him pay his rent. And I didn't do it. Because that would just be too weird to just like, hey, I've only known you for 2 months, but here's a shit ton of money. Like, let me buy your love, you know? Like, it just would have been weird. So I told my mom, I was like, I am not giving him this money. And I gave it back to him. It was just like a funny thing. But that kind of communicated to me that she was a little overly excited and maybe was trying to pay the symbolic dowry, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that was just a funny story that came to mind.
Yeah, we have, it reminds me, we have a friend of ours whose mom is super passionate about her having grandbabies.
Yeah.
And she's actually like offered people like sums of money to get her daughter pregnant because she wants a grandbaby. And I'm like, well, you know, I could use a couple $1,000.
I know. I felt bad because I was like, man, he could use the money, but my pride, I can't sacrifice my pride. You know?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
No, you can't. I wouldn't have been able to.
No, that would have been probably a line I wouldn't cross either.
Yeah.
So how do you, as you're moving through the world of hookups and dating, how do you keep yourself safe sexually and just physically safe, right? You're out in bars or out, you know, in clubs or wherever?
Yeah. I mean, I was to say, I can't. So once I'm in bed, I can't move. I can't move myself. I can't reach my phone. I can't. Another problem is I can't. This is actually a little bit of a complication, and it's the reason why I like day sex is that I can't turn over in bed at night. So I actually have an assistant with me in the other room that I call in the middle of the night. Usually when I'm having someone over, that is a conversation that we do have where I say, hey, I can't roll over in bed, so we could do this one of two ways. We could either have a third party come in every couple hours and flip me, or you can wake up every couple hours and flip me over, you know? And of course, usually they opt for the not having another person come in the room, you know? It's definitely been weird when I like would have an assistant come get me up in the morning and I got a guy in bed. This one guy, I felt so bad because he wanted to leave early, and I said no, stay, because I wanted to show that I was a whore. And so I was like, stay, be my little trophy in bed. I don't want this, but no, I mean, as far as safety, I mean, I guess what I usually do is I make sure at least one friend knows what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with and where I'm doing it and even if it's not sex, even if it's just like a first date or if I'm having someone over, I just make sure someone knows. I have a code where if I send that friend a letter, like a random letter, that means I'm in trouble. And the reason why I say a random letter is if you're flailing, sometimes you can only reach a random letter. So I want to make it something really simple that I don't have to think about. I always, if I do, I remember I had a guy over once, and my assistant, this is a really funny story, my assistant at the time, who usually did my overnight, instead of doing my overnight, she was fucking a guy in a motel down the street. So she did this weird thing where she would fuck him a few times, go work for somebody else, like change their catheter or something, then go back and fuck him, then come over to my house and put me over, and then go back and fuck him. She was like this super assistant who just like had a bunch of sex and worked at the same time at like 3 in the morning. It was really weird. Pre-COVID. We're not doing that anymore. But,
yeah, that's hilarious.
And then as far as bars actually have been maybe a little more unsafe because, you know, when people I've definitely been, you know, I've had people make out with me without my consent and, you know, grab me and touch me. And usually when that happens, I never really ever go to a bar unless I know someone there. So if I have friends there, I'll tell one of them, like, hey, this person is being weird. Can you kind of protect me a little bit? And then my friend will stand between me and them and make sure I'm distanced from that person. So I try to never travel to a place where I don't know anyone there.
Yeah. That's a
Right.
good safety measure.
One of the things that you touched on right at the beginning of this conversation was something that I wondered if maybe you could talk a little more about, which is maybe like the trust you have in somebody when you end up going to bed, because you said once you're in bed, you basically can't move. And I think that's a really, really vulnerable place to be in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and when I say I've hooked up with people, don't get me wrong, this is a number of people I can count on my two hands, you know, like I don't sleep around that much.
Right.
And that's part of the reason. I mean, I've talked to people online. One of the things that annoys me with online dating is I feel like so many people, especially men, mainly men, I mean, I've never had this problem with a woman, but mainly men want to go to bed right away. They don't even want to go on a date first. I'm like, God, can't we get a drink? Can't we get some coffee? Can I have 24 hours, you know, to like meet you and then think about it overnight, you know? But it's like, and to me, that's not unreasonably slow. To me, that's normal. Like, you meet someone, for at least one day at least, and then you fuck. You don't just fuck, you know? But for some reason, it seems to be more the norm. People just want to hook up that night on, like, Tinder or whatever, and I don't like doing that. I really don't like doing that, so I don't do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes total sense, right? Like, you're the at-risk person there. You're the vulnerable person. Like, this dude coming over is not in any type of... there's no concern for him, right? For his safety. And
the other problem with that, too, is that's why I prefer to date people in real life, because even if we hook up without dating or anything, chances are we have mutual friends. So if anything weird happened, you know, they'd have to answer to all our mutual friends all of a sudden. So
yeah, there's some accountability.
Yeah, there's a little bit of built-in accountability there.
Yeah, but like a stranger on the internet, there's nothing. They come as fast as they go. No pun intended.
Right. Yeah.
So one of the things, and this one should be up your alley as a comedian. One of the things we love to talk to people about is bloopers, because we, you know, sometimes people can think, oh, it's just sex is super serious, and I think anybody who's really done it knows it's not. But like, it's kind of fun to hear the lighter side of it, and maybe if you had a funny blooper that you would be willing to share. It doesn't have to necessarily be sexual, but just something that you'd be open to sharing.
God, I'm trying to think. I shit on a guy once on accident. That's not really that funny. I don't know. Yeah. God, sex is just so awkward. Let me think for a minute. The first time I lost my virginity, the maintenance guy was coming over to fix a light bulb or something, and he asked me if he could plug his phone in. And I have a charger on my wheelchair, so I just said you could plug it into me. And I definitely meant nothing by it. I really meant nothing by it, but of course one thing led to another, and that's how that happened.
So wait, you lost. So hold on a second. You lost your virginity to the maintenance guy because you told him he could plug it into you?
Yeah, and I meant the charger on my chair, but he thought I meant his dick and my badge, and that's what happened. Consensually, of course. But I mean, we were friends. It was in college, so we all went to the same school. So it was like, you know, like a weird thing. But
wow.
Yeah.
Perfect choice of words.
I'm trying to think of other blue. Yeah, right. I mean, there was that, and then me and my friend make a movie about how, like, we just thought it would be funny to make a video, because so many guys are afraid they're gonna, like, break me, so the video would be about me being fucked to death. So I'd be like, oh no, everything's fine, don't worry, and then we'd be going out, and then he'd accidentally, like, tear my arm off or something overly gory, or like alien would come out of my stomach. I don't know.
He'd literally fuck your guts out.
Yeah, right?
Oh God, that would be that's like That's a horror movie I don't know if I'd want to see.
Too soon.
Too soon. Yeah.
Yeah, right,
right.
too soon.
Well, thank you so much for sharing everything you did. It was a delight to talk to you. And I just wanted to, I know we got in touch with you through Jeff and the movie Romantic Chorus that's coming out. I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about that project if you wanted to.
Sure, yeah. It's a really cool project. One of the neat things that I like about it is that it's fully animated, which is great. I love animation. I love cartoons. And basically he just interviewed like a bunch of different people, and then they each have their own little animator on it. So it's even different types of animation, which is really neat to me. It was interesting. Jeff came over, we talked. Yeah, these little categories, and it was like technology and fear, and he had all these categories, and yeah, it's just nice to talk about it. You know, it's not very often you get all vulnerable about sex and love and all that, and we did, and it was great. Yeah, I'm excited for it to come out.
Yeah,
no, that's amazing, and I also wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe talk about your work, right? I know stand-up comedy is probably tough to do during Covfefe here, but how maybe are there places people can find you and your work, and are you still able to get out and do some performing, even if it's virtual or something like that?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit. I've definitely been doing some virtual and a little bit of live stuff, but not so much. I'm really trying to get the video work. And if you're on Instagram, follow me at The Painted Jade. So The Painted Jade, Painted Jade.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I also have a website, www.jadeterrio.com, but my name is really hard to spell, so.
Don't worry about it. We'll put links in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about spelling anything. Yeah. People can find everything on our website, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, www.jadeterrio.com. I got a movie coming out. I was in a trauma movie that's coming out, I believe, sometime early next year. Hopefully, it's called Divide and Conquer, and I play the strip club owner. Funny story, the role for the strip club owner was originally for Ron Jeremy, the porn actor. Yeah, but then he did some bad things, and they called me up instead. So I play Ron Jeremy, I guess. Yeah.
Well,
I don't play him. But I do play a character named Ronnie, but it's definitely a different non-rapey type of guy.
I was gonna say you're no Ron Jeremy and you're no Harvey Weinstein.
No.
So
no.
You can leave it.
Oh, yeah, little do you know. No, I'm just kidding.
Awesome. Well, that's amazing. We appreciate everything you do, all of the work you're putting out into the world, and for sharing your story with us and talking with us tonight. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Well, have a wonderful rest of your night. And we're back. Thank you so much, Jade, for coming on the show. I know we were put in touch with you through Jeff, as we mentioned at the beginning, and throughout the interview, but thank you so much for coming out and sharing your story.
And sharing what could literally be one of my favorite loss of virginity stories.
Yes.
So you got to be careful who you ask to plug into what and where.
That was amazing.
So thank you for all the laughs and for the vulnerability. It was amazing, and we hope it's not the last time that we talk.
So
As we promised
Yes.
community announcements.
We promised community announcements. So the first up is our virtual meet and greet. So our next one is going to be on December 12th. That's a Saturday this time. It's going to be starting at 10 p.m. Eastern. I know that's late. We apologize. We'll be moving them around a little bit in the future, but 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern time on December 12th. These meet and greets are open to anyone that wants to join. They are $10, and you can sign up by going to our website, normalizingnon-monogamy.com, and clicking on the meet and greet tab.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one of the really cool things about these meet and greets is that they're not just for non-monogamous people. It's a really great way. Maybe you're thinking about exploring it. Maybe you're just looking to meet other open-minded people. There is a wide range of people in there.
Yes.
And everybody is welcome and welcoming. So yeah, we'd love to have you join us and check it out.
Yes. The other thing we want to talk about is our Patreon group.
So whoa.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Before we do, we just have to say a huge thank you.
Well, yeah, I didn't even get there.
I know, because I cut you off. Strategically.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you to all of the amazing Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing, and we're so excited to be building this community that is creeping up on 140 members.
Yes, we're incredibly excited and couldn't be more grateful for all of you. We do have monthly Q&As that we do for our Patreon group. You can join those at the $2 level, and our next monthly Q&A is Wednesday, December 16th. We do two of them, one at 9 p.m. Eastern and the other one at 9 p.m. Pacific. We also have a MeWe group and a men's group and a women's group, and those are all available at the $5 level. And the next women's group call is December 9th. The next men's group call is December 15th. So again, information about all of those calls and how to access all of that is on our website, normalizingnon-monogamy.com, by clicking on the Patreon button.
And we always like to just throw this out there. If you are looking for a community and maybe a specific group, and you don't identify as a man or a woman, or you fall somewhere in between that on the spectrum of gender or sexuality, or gender, I suppose, not sexuality, reach out to us. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to help facilitate creating this community. We would love some help doing that. That's maybe the easiest way to say it. So thank you for doing that in the future, people.
Also, wow.
I don't know what's happening.
Also, I just want to shout out, welcome to December, everyone. We made it to December of this year. I know it's been a long one, and we just appreciate all of you listening and supporting the show throughout this year. It has been, challenging, but we couldn't be more thankful. I don't know
what you're talking about.
We couldn't be more thankful for all of you.
That's very true. Next week, next week we've got some other podcasts, some fellow podcasters. They started their show in the beginning of the year, like springtime, roughly. Why are you staring at me? I don't know. I believe it was springtime. Why you got to argue with me?
Because I thought it was the summer, but you're right.
Well, even if you did, you don't have to. Now I should have to edit this out, but I don't even give a shit.
You're just gonna leave it in?
Yeah, they'll be fine with it. Okay. We should bet on it. We should see who was right.
Oh, before we go look?
I think it was I think they came up with the idea in February, March, and didn't really start recording until June or July.
Well, that wasn't what you said at the beginning.
Look, I'm covering all my bases.
No, I think they started. My point was, I think they started publishing episodes in June and July.
All right. Well, we'll see who's right. Based on the way I described it, I'm correct because
all of it.
I covered all the months in 2020.
Okay, let's just agree that I won this one.
Let's table that discussion. So anyway, the name of the show is Cheating on Fear. It is not just about sex and relationships and non-monogamy, but that is definitely part of it. And the hosts are Beatrice and Dante, and we're super excited to have them on. Also, I believe today we were published on their show. They did an interview with us for their podcast. So after you get done listening to this 47-minute outro,
go and download the most recent episode of the Cheating on Fear podcast.
Yeah, and you'll hear us for another 47 plus minutes.
Yeah. Maybe even longer. I don't remember how long that was exactly.
It was a long time, but it was awesome. So thank you.
Yes.
For listening to this point. Reach out, let us know how you're doing, let us know how we're doing, and we hope to hear from everybody.
Yep. And I think that's it. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
That's it. Wrapped it up real quick.
Nailed it.